Welcome, guys. This is Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm Owen James, and this is all your latest Rangers news. Got some more fallout from the Phillipe Clement Q&A that he did at the start of the week when he was talking to fans at the Rangers charity event at Edgbaston House. Obviously, the key questions that we all want answers to in terms of, the board, in terms of Hadji, etc., etc. None of that was asked because these questions were strictly controlled. These questions were obviously had to be submitted in writing to the club pre-Q&A. So obviously anything that would be slightly difficult or that could be slightly tricky for Clement would, of course, have been dismissed. The board and the club not liking to answer any of those difficult questions, which obviously, hey, that's what it is, isn't it? Fan media don't do it at press conferences, as a lot of people don't do it. So, it is what it is. But there's some interesting points that came out, and I think some more comments that shows, some really strange thinking on behalf of the manager and some worrying trends in terms of the club. Clement was asked about, as the players settling in. I mean, he did say we can still win the league, which I think is a little bit far-fetched. But then again, he's got to say that. He can't sit there and say, no, we've got no chance, really, can he? I mean, that's just not... what he's privately thinking and what he publicly says are probably two very different things. This is one of the comments that he came out with. He says, everybody's working really hard and they need to realise players coming into this club need time to adapt. You have some players who need 3 to 6 months and some adapt after a week. It's a really personal thing you cannot predict. I'm very sure that we have brought in several really talented players who will grow and become better over the next couple of years. Things to agree with there. Yeah, there are some young, talented players that have been brought into the club that will continue to develop and get better over the coming years. I mean, you look at Hamza Igman, hopefully, Conor Baron, who's made a fantastic start, Kiefte, Diamande, Cortez, all very young players, and hopefully, they will go on to, further success. And at the end of the day, we'll go on to obviously help this transfer model, this trading model get going. These are players that, give it 2-3 years at Rangers. Hopefully, they'll be worth a substantial amount of money in the future. We know that. I think what is a slightly ridiculous comment, though, by Phillipe Clement, and I think this is partly down to his poor man management skills and his refusal to play players that he signs from the very start. There's his refusal to pick his best players at times. Is this comment that it will take some players 3 to 6 months to settle in? I think that is an absolute ridiculous statement to make. You look around the world and you look at other clubs, other top clubs. I mean, this is the key thing here, top clubs. Yes, I put Rangers in that bracket. Yes, obviously we can't compete with the likes, obviously, of Manchester City, Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea financially. But in terms of club size, we are on the same sort of level as those guys. And, you look at those clubs that make signings and they're bringing new players to the club. And I'll be honest with you, they don't take 3 to 6 months to settle in. That just doesn't happen. Celtic, brought in the Japanese players. It didn't take them 3 to 6 months to settle, when Ange Postecoglou was the manager. I think if a player is taking 3 to 6 months to settle in and to adapt to a new league and to a new style, that says a lot for the coaching standards. That says a lot for you as a manager, Phil. The fact that you are not obviously doing your job properly. A player should not be taking 3 months to 6 months to actually settle in and start hitting the ground running at a club. Now, if he means the likes of Clinton and Ciala, I think that's quite an unfair comment, considering Clinton hasn't really had an opportunity to play yet. He hasn't been given a fair crack at the whip. And, I think partly Ciala could even be, regretting his move to Rangers, given the fact that he wanted to play first team football. That's one of the reasons he left AC Milan, and he's not even getting on the bench at the moment. I mean, I'll be honest with you, that comment, it goes in there with the other ridiculous comments that Phillipe Clement has made of late. We were equally competitive as Celtic. The Ross County result was just as important, etc., etc. These are just pathetic comments that are pretty much throwaway. But that comment about taking 3 to 6 months is just an utterly ridiculous comment. And like I said, it's more down to poor coaching and poor man management. And there has been whispers and rumours of the fact that Clement's man management skills are poor. Look at the way he treats Hadji and the way he treats Cantwell. And also, his coaching skills, which have been called into doubt as well. What else did he say? He said, it's been a big rebuild, 16 players left. A lot of players were older, and it wasn't easy to have a good transfer window because 7 players left for 0. We had to replace them with other players that cost money. We're not a club with a big investor saying we spend 50 million now and just go into the market. It's not the case. We, recruitment board and myself, need to be inventive. We also had to cut wages as it wasn't sustainable. yes, I agree with that. The wage bill at this club was utterly ridiculous. The wage bill, due to the contracts that had been given out by the likes of Ross Wilson and, the board, which, has it genuinely really taken this long for John Bennett, the Park family, and the rest of the Rangers board to realise that the contracts they were giving out were unsustainable? Has it taken them this long? Seems to have done. I think, pretty ludicrous, that side of it. Clement clearly sees that is not, that is not sustainable, and it isn't. Paying 37 grand a week to Connor Goldson, still paying James Tavernier 30 grand a week, paying Cyril Dessers 27 grand a week is just utterly ridiculous for players who are not worth that amount of money. So, yeah, I agree with that comment. Yeah, we haven't got an investor. Yes, we haven't got a substantial transfer budget. The board are obviously not able to put in those funds because they haven't got the money. They're used car salesmen. That is what they are. And as I've said a number of times, and I've placed on record a number of times, until Rangers get rid of John Bennett and get rid of the accursed Park family, this club will not move forward because they are holding this club back. Dave King can come out and say whatever he wants about people working hard behind the scenes, about John Bennett working tirelessly, etc., etc. But the fact is that these guys have not got the ambition or the football brain, as Graham Souness told us, to take this club forward. And that's just a clear fact. He said there are a lot of challenges that way, but I'm convinced that we bring in a few experienced guys who can do the job directly, but also several young guys, some who can do the job already. They need to prove they can do it every 3 days now. I'm very convinced this team has more potential for the future than the team 6 months ago and in that moment. I mean, interesting comment there that he believes that this team has more potential than last year's. I mean, yes, I think that, the fact we've got rid of some dead wood from the team is positive. Would I say that this squad is necessarily stronger than last year's squad? No, I wouldn't. I think we're lacking talent. I think obviously the departures of Cantwell and obviously, Hadji obviously wasn't part of last season's squad, but he's still obviously here at the club now, but isn't obviously allowed to play for whatever reason, whether it's the 6 grand reason or the 1.5 million reason or the fact that Clement just doesn't like him. I don't know what the reason really is. And I don't think any of us will know until somebody comes out and clears it up. Yes, we have got some good young players that are coming through. Conor Baron, for example. I do think still, however, that we did miss the trick slightly in terms of those experienced players. There are a number of other experienced players we probably could have been looking at and brought in that could have made a difference to this squad. Players like Albion Rahmani, who went for less than what we were being quoted allegedly for this player, and has hit the ground running and scoring a boatload of goals at Sparta Prague in a Czech league that is similar to ours. I would trust Rahmani, who's done it in big games in the Czech Republic now, has done it in big games in Romania, has done it in Europe on a consistent basis over Cyril Dessers, who is consistently inconsistent, particularly in those games that actually matter. So I think there were, with the inability to bring in a 6, the inability to actually get rid of James Tavernier and replace him with a proper right back, the inability to bring in a winger, I think there is some disasters there and some bad examples of recruitment. And yes, I get that we couldn't do everything in one window, but it's about prioritizing, isn't it? And have we got all the priorities right? That's a question. That is a key question. Something that I think Philpe Clement would have needed to be asked, really. Have we got the priorities right? Do you feel that the signings we've made are the right ones? I mean, he says, that the squad's stronger, but is the team necessarily stronger and in a better position to compete with Celtic? I think we've seen from the first Old Firm game that it's not the case, is it? He said, we've already seen some things of that. I don't like talking at individuals, but young lad like Conor Baron, he didn't play all the games for Aberdeen. He's made a big step forward and he got a reward, also being selected for the national team for the first time. You've also got a young lad like Jefte. He's only 20 years old, but already proving good things, and there are others to come. It's now about working hard with the team to make them gel and create connections. The other side of town, they've been building on their squad for more than 1 year and playing together. It's normal. They are ahead now, although I hate that, and I want to change that as fast as possible. So there is a commitment there that he does want to make changes, that he does want to obviously overtake Celtic. He talks about their team being together for over a year, but they've still made changes in those times with those players. Obviously the departure of Matt O'Reilly, replaced by Bernardo, replaced by Engels, and so on. There have been players that have come in and they've changed players over the last couple of years. It's not the same team that it was under originally under Postecoglou. So slightly irrelevant. Conor Baron, yes, has been an excellent signing. I think Conor has perhaps been asked to do something that is not his natural role. He's not naturally a 6, I don't think. More an 8 or even a 10 or an 8.5 or whatever. But, at the end of the day, Conor Baron has done really well, and Conor Baron has probably been player of the season so far. You know, he's shown passion, he's shown fight, he's always there for the ball, he's always positive for the ball, he's everything John Lundstrom wasn't last season. So that's a massive positive. Kiefté does look a very good player. His discipline does need working on. You know, he does get a lot of unnecessary bookings. And yeah, I agree that Kiefté is, you know, a good appointment. Now, I think, you know, it's all very well and good Clement saying this will take time. It will take time. He doesn't know how many transfer windows it will take. You know, he did make that comment as well yesterday that, you know, he's unsure of how many transfer windows it will take to get this squad right. But I think, you know, one thing that is a fact in Rangers, at Rangers, is that managers don't get time. You know, that's not who we are as a club. You know, I think if you look at the situation and you are losing big games and you are losing games that, you know, that define your season, like the Old Firm, for example, then you are not going to get that time that you think you may need. You know, there are, for me, still reservations about Phillipe Clement, you know, whether he's the right man or not. Obviously, I know that's open to debate. Some fans think he is, some fans think he isn't. It's just how it is with the fan base. I'll be honest with you. I think, you know, there are doubts over him. You know, some of the comments that he makes are ridiculous. You know, there is a situation where we have seen, in terms of formation and inflexibility, in terms of in-game management, substitutions, wrong substitutions, too late to making substitutions, the wrong substitution, playing players that are out of form, playing players that shouldn't be anywhere near the football pitch, even though, you know, that they're playing very poorly. It seems that no matter how badly they play, they still get chosen. Laurent Tavernier, for example. You know, there are some poor tactical decisions being made. And are we seeing a style? Are we seeing a real style other than perhaps a high press for 10 minutes against Celtic? Did we see anything else in that game that convinced us there was a style there? I think there are doubts, and there are doubts that he will need to start to, you know, address. Now, he said that by October, November, you'll see the best of Rangers. So I think, you know, this is something we've got to wait for, that if by October, November, we're starting to see a formation and a style, then all well and good. I think that, you know, Clement will last through to January, but if he was to lose the next Old Firm game at Ibrox to Celtic, then that would be 6 games without a win. And I think that would be maybe the straw that breaks the camel's back, because unfortunately, rightly or wrongly, managers who don't beat Celtic don't last. I think that is something that is a constant issue for this club at this moment in time, our inability to beat Celtic when it actually matters. I mean, the last time we probably beat them when it actually genuinely mattered was that semi-final. You know, yes, I know we beat them 3-0 at the end of the season under Michael Beale, but that game was largely meaningless. So, you know, I think we are in a position where that game in January looms large. You know, I think in terms of the next few weeks, months, etc., it's take it one game at a time. It's take it 3 points at a time. It's keep up the pressure on them and hope that somebody blinks. As Gerrard said, it's who blinks first, and hopefully they will blink. I can't see it happening, but, you know, we need to keep the pressure on. We need to keep winning. We can't afford to fall any more points behind. It does need to literally be unbeaten from now until that Old Firm game. You know, that has got to be the way. But, you know, there are comments that this manager makes that do worry me and do concern me. You know, certainly comments that you wouldn't see top coaches around Europe making, you know, comments that the likes of Ancelotti and Klopp and Schlott and Guardiola and Arteta and Unai Emery, the comments that they genuinely wouldn't make and would have perhaps a more realistic, you know, commentary with the press than Clement does at times. He is concerning, shall we say. Guys, let me know what you think anyway of these comments. Let me know what you think of what we've had to say in the video. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, guys, please drop a like on the video, drop a comment. It does help. And remember always, we are the people.